Hello, smart people. How are you today? In this lesson, I'm going to share examples from 4 non-technical founders who have shaken up their industries. And as you listen, ask yourself, which one of these people do I most identify with? Whose advice is most appealing to me? Whose journey am I most interested in? Because I want you to see that massive global success is possible for non-technical founders, but also I want you to see that there are different types of non-technical founders because there are different types of people and there are different types of journeys, right? So if you have chosen this path, research these people, research the ones that resonate most with you and follow their path. And if you have an idea for an app or a tech venture, which I'm assuming you do because you're listening to this podcast, but if you're not a developer, then I have a class for you next week. It's a free class and it is called Build a Startup Without Learning to Code. And now let's learn about some non-technical founder billionaires. All of the people that you're going to hear about today, they have created publicly listed companies. The number 1 spot goes to Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Apple is one of the world's most valuable companies, and its market cap is over $3 trillion today. Does Apple need an introduction? I mean, I'm assuming that if you're listening to this episode, then you have heard about Apple. But did you know that Steve Jobs, he never studied engineering. He dropped out of Reed College, a liberal arts school. And, he took classes on calligraphy there, amongst other non-techie things. So he was definitely not a coder. He was a product visionary. And he really believed that technology alone was not enough. He believed that technology needed to be paired with other things. So he said that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with liberal arts, married with the humanities, that makes our hearts sing. So basically, use your unique talent and your unique insights and then get technology to enhance them, to scale them. And don't try to become a completely different person. Because, for example, if you're really good with people or you're really good with design, these are unique, wonderful, really highly valued skill sets that actually we can really use to build an empire. And don't try to think, well, okay, in the digital age, those talents are not relevant. Those talents are very relevant. You just need to use technology to enhance them. Now, let's talk about number 2. This guy's actually my favorite. So it's Jack Ma. Jack Ma is the founder of Alibaba. Alibaba is China's e-commerce and fintech giant. So it's like Amazon plus eBay plus PayPal and a bunch of others rolled into one. It basically runs everything from online retail to wholesale logistics to cloud computing. And then it has this fintech division called Alipay, which runs everything from payments to pensions. And as of early September 2025, Alibaba is valued at about $300 billion. So not bad. And now, let me tell you about the founder, Jack Ma. And maybe you will love him too. So Jack started his career as an English teacher. He failed his college entrance exam twice. He was rejected from 30 jobs, including from Kentucky Fried Chicken, yes, KFC. And he only discovered the internet in his 30s. So I love him because, I think get bombarded with examples of these, guys in their 20s who dropped out of Stanford and then created a $1 billion company. And then there's a guy who basically didn't see his first computer until he was in his 30s and got rejected from KFC, who is literally one of the most influential tech billionaires in the world. So don't tell me that if you're feeling bad, that you're not a billionaire by 25, that okay, that's not a thing. That's not a legitimate thing. Just research Jack Ma and use him as your inspiration. So when Jack finally saw the internet for the first time on a trip to the US in the mid-1990s, he typed beer into a search engine and he found no results for China. And that's what gave him the idea of Alibaba. So he couldn't code, but he had vision. He had resilience, because that's what you get after all that rejection. And he could persuade others. So he convinced his friends and small businesses to join his early attempt to start a company. Then he convinced investors and employees to believe in Alibaba's mission. And basically, he turned this tiny, first it was just an idea, then a tiny startup, into one of the largest e-commerce platforms in the entire world. And they have millions upon millions of customers and businesses that they're serving every year. So he has literally changed commerce and finance in the world's second largest economy. And he was not building copycat products. So Alibaba's products actually are an inspiration to Silicon Valley companies. And he said, your attitude is more important than your abilities. Similarly, your decision is more important than your capabilities. Basically, what that means is if you believe that you can, you will. So I think you might as well believe that you can. Gets you good results. The third spot goes to Brian Chesky, the CEO and co-founder of Airbnb. So Airbnb transformed travel by turning spare rooms and couches into a global hospitality network. So they basically really transformed the hotel, or actually disrupted the hotel industry. And as of early 2025, Airbnb is valued at about 80 billion. So not bad. Brian studied design, not computer science. And basically, the founding story is that it's 2008, and he and his roommate were broke. They had no money, and they didn't have enough cash to cover their rent. And so they thought, okay, how are we going to do this? We need some cash pronto. And so they rented out an air mattress in their apartment for a design conference in San Francisco. And they basically got some money to pay their rent. Then their other broke friends were like, oh, this is a really good idea. Can you help us do the same thing? And eventually, this became the tech behemoth that is Airbnb. And Brian Chesky was not the technical builder, but he did have a technical co-founder. So I think, this is important to see that Chesky's gift of design and storytelling and building trust was mixed with technology. And whenever I really do actually recommend that you listen to some podcast episodes with Brian Chesky. I remember there was one on a show called Lenny's Podcast with Brian Chesky, which is really good. And you'll really see that he is a design and a product leader. So he's really focused on, okay, when a person gets onto our app or onto our site, what is their experience like? What are they feeling? How can we make this better? How can we make this easier? How can we make this more trustworthy? And this is basically what good, talented designers do. And this is what I want you to see is that actually, you could have amazing engineering, but if you don't have good design, it's just not going to work. And so Brian said, if we tried to think of a good idea, we wouldn't have been able to think of a good idea. You just have to solve a problem in your own life. And I think this is why the most successful founders tend to have life experience and work experience. So I know that in the press, we hear about all of these 20-year-old dropouts from wherever who started a company has gone really big. So these are anomalies. That's not actually statistically what's most likely to be successful. So the people who are most likely to be successful as founders are people in their 40s. So I think it's late 30s to 40s. And it makes sense, right? Because as Brian says, if you're just sitting there trying to think of ideas, you're probably not going to come out with anything good. But if you actually look at the problems that you're solving at work, at the problems that you're solving at home, in your relationships, then you can start seeing, okay, where are the problems and where are the problems that actually people are willing to pay to solve? This is why people with experience tend to have ideas that are actually more thought out. And also they have the network to build something successful and get their first customers, get their first investors.